Joining me on the sofa with Esther is the legend Leee John from Imagination, who will be celebrating 40 years in the industry with his box set as well as talking about his Just an Illusion tour. Okay, there we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is with my greatest pleasure that I am going to be talking to Leee John. Leee John from Imagination. Have I coined that terminology right? Of Imagination.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Fantastic.
I'm proud to have represented Imagination for 40 years now plus, which I'm in right now in celebrating going into 2023.
Absolutely.
40 years of Imagination. I mean, it's funny because I've also been part of the British Collective, which has been great.
Yes.
I've now got a duet with George Vasillo. That's another situation. I had something with Classic Bertrand. That's another situation. I've got something with Rob Scott. I've got something with oh my god, Bill Sharp from Shack Attack. So
Oh, wow.
so there's a lot of different areas I'm moving in, which I'm really happy with. I did a track with Dennis Bovell, Police and Thieves, a reggae version of that, which went really, really well, the number one in reggae charts, which was the first for me. So I've done a lot of collaborations. I've been part of different musical platforms. So it's all part of growth.
But what's nice about you, Leee, is that you're a very eclectic soul. I'm not going to say artist, I'm going to say soul, because that encompasses you being, yes, an artist, a writer, recently more a film producer, a singer, a writer. So you encapsulate all those. And even when you spoke about all the things that you are involved in or you've collaborated with, it's a lot more than that, I know.
I know. I'm doing it because I'm trying to remember, because it's like, every time I try, even when I do interviews, to bring out something new. Of course, I say to everyone, look, you can go on Wikipedia, which is slightly wrong, and you can see, or go to my website and you can check the biography. You can see what I've been doing, because sometimes I forget. I mean, for example, the other thing which was last year was the Gorillas. That was another big highlight for me. So there's been a lot of interesting things in my career, and ongoing and still to come. So I'm always looking ahead. I don't stay in the past that long. It's a great memory. I've learned from it. I can never look back. I think, Denzel Washington put it quite plainly. He said, you have to fall on your knees, fall on your face first to really understand what it is for you to sustain. And I say that to many new artists who come to me, who talk to me about developing, how do they go through it? And I try to tell them to try as many different things as possible. And if you do fall on your face, that's great.
Yes.
You have to do that. Unfortunately, sometimes in today's society, with the way, with reality TV and stuff, everybody's given the false illusion, I should say, of how they feel. They just go on this like this, but they look fantastic, they look great, and then that's it, and they don't know how to sustain,
That's right. Yeah. Instant gratification, isn't it? Because the longevity. I mean, I am very privileged to interview so many different people from different walks, different backgrounds. The mainstay are artists, but aside from that, and it's interesting sometimes when you hear their journey, especially these seasoned artists, and they said, we finally feel we understand our purpose or what we're doing. And it's taken them years, or we finally understand this, or we finally get this. But they've kept on going, and that's the
Oh,
beauty. They've
totally.
kept on going.
Yeah, I mean, I've come to the point in my life where I feel my job on this earth is not just the one thing that people just thought, oh, you're Leee John of imagination or da da da.
Mm,
I found that my purpose is much greater. And so, I'm involved in different charity organizations. I'm involved in different things, and I'm, I'm writing a lot. There's different things to me that I feel that I can give to the world. I can give to the universe, and so therefore, it's not just that one thing. And I think that as I've grown older, I found, you know what, your purpose is much greater and much bigger. And you have a lot of responsibility in doing that, and I learned that especially from my mom, because my mom's been working in the community since the 60s, and she's now, oh, she was Secretary of St. Lucia Association in 1968, since 1968, and she stopped in 2019.
mm,
So they're celebrating something special for her, I think, next year. And she's
excellent.
and she's been involved in the community. So even though I've had this high style champagne lifestyle, when I come home, it's very St. Lucian and very grounded. So that's what I've always had in my life, and my friends, the same school friends I've had for over 50 years, so
Wow.
we're very, very, very tight. And one of them, Leroy, he I went to a school, Highbury Grove, where I'm very proud to say a lot of the black guys there, it was a boys' school, but a lot of the black guys there did really well. I could probably name about 15 guys, all
Mm,
black guys, who did, amazingly well, And one of them is Leroy, who I'm very proud. He did his book, and Steve McQueen then made the Small Axe series, and one of the episodes was Red, White, and Blue, and John Boyega got a Golden Globe
oh,
Award
yes.
portraying Leroy, and Tyrone Huntley, fantastic, oh God, director, choreographer. He played me, and an actor as well, and great voice. He played Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar. So it was wonderful having someone of that ilk
Mm,
playing me, and it was because of Leroy, because of his book. So
fantastic.
it was really weird, because when that came out is it year before, I think, the same week I was filming live shows with the Gorillas, and the video had just been coming out. So it was kind of like, I'd done a serendipity. Something was in the air, creatively.
But do you create that? I mean, you talk about, being wanted to be maybe be see more or be more than just an artist. But with creativity, and I feel with your spirit of creativity, it's almost like it seems to be this organic thing that happens anyway.
Mm.
And when you are in that soup of creativity, so many things come out. And I think most of the time it's about how do you balance it. But what you seem to do is take that creativity and solidify it into something tangible.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got your documentary, your
Flash.
your your flash, yes, you've got your documentary, and I think is it 7 documentaries now that you've produced? Is
Yeah,
that
I've done. Oh my God, Flashback is where we were close to completing it. We were close to finally saying yes. But as a lot of people in the film have said, like it's not just about one topic. It has many, many, many colors of
layers?
people's histories. So we had one company getting on board, and they wanted to take too much money from it. We were in legal wrangles to try and say okay. And then my lawyers and my management said, look, you can't do the deal. So therefore we stopped. But I've got over 100 interviews. I've got over
Yes.
800 hours of things. So in between that, so that I wasn't disappointed, I thought, okay, we'll pause,
Mm,
come back. In the meantime, I did a documentary on St. Lucia.
yes.
I was
Yes.
down there. And from my eyes, and just before Christmas, I had a really great meeting with the High Commissioner, and they're involved in trying to push, this version of Through My Eyes, the St.
Excellent.
Lucian experience. It's called I Love St. Lucia. And I
Mhm.
film people on the street. I film people who are part of the tourist board. It's a very organic, as you said, so right sense of St. Lucia. Plus, I was doing the Roots and Soul Festival with my band. So,
Yes.
and then I met a lot of St. Lucian musicians, and they've got a whole thing going on there that's becoming very global.
Mm,
And so that was an interesting factor. And then I've also done a documentary on police and thieves, which was life stories, very short life stories of people in the community, especially in North London. So that was Leroy, who was a police officer, an ex-gang member. There was Sharon Parry and her family. They've had Aquarius Hair Salon in Finsbury Park for years, and now they've got a flower shop. But there's been also a hub for people being tested for HIV, being tested for sickle cell anemia. They give people advice, so it's been a hub in Finsbury Park for many, many years. So I was so proud to even talk to her about the contribution that she has made to the community, and also people like Angie Greaves, who's Smooth FM, Choice FM, Magic FM, and she's got some great podcasts as well. So that was one of them. And I did 3 documentaries for SOS Children in Zambia, Tunisia, and South Africa, which I love South Africa. And
yes, I went there this year for the first time. It's just got such everyone I've spoken to, Lee, everyone has said South Africa is the place. You've got to be safe there, but otherwise, everyone, and you've just mentioned it, and there must be a reason for you mentioning.
South Africa, I've every time I've gone there, I've had a great time, and they're very together. They're very, it's like coming home in a sense.
Absolutely.
And that's the first time I went there in the mid-90s, and I was embraced by the Mandela family. I became very good friends with Zinzi, and was part of Operation Hunger in Soweto. And there's just so many things that I will be writing about a lot of this soon, where we're getting close to documenting a lot of this before my old grey cells do anything. But there's some wonderful, I've been so blessed to have had a wonderful journey throughout the years and met a lot of different people in so many different places and stuff like that, and had great times. I must have said, I've had more good times than bad times. There were the bad times, which they do come, but I've had some very interesting, and even of late this year as well, we went to Corsica, and we were performing in the ruins of this. It was something similar to Stonehenge, and they've never had a band playing there before. But this whole area in Corsica, this like near the mountain, it had this wonderful spiritual energy. When you touch the stone, you could feel, and there's a whole story. Yeah, it was. I think, wow, mankind was here before Christ, and that you could see where they had these small caves where they were like refrigerators, and you put your hand in there, and it was cold, and that's where they would put their food and things like. It was really very interesting, and yet again a new discovery. That's what I like. Being educated, something new to educate me.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And this sort of brings us around, because you've talking, in bits and pieces about the pockets of your experiences in life. And what's really nice, you're also celebrating others, as you speak about your journey, which is really powerful. And so, as this brings us to the celebration, though, of you're doing the Just an Illusion tour next year.
That's right.
And you're going to be at the O2 Shepherd's Bush Empire on the 20th of May. So all those in the UK, you need to be getting your tickets for that.
But you're also now. It's going to be a fab, super groovalistical experience. And my friends, Camille Hines and Central Line will be there. So, and I believe my solo supporting it. So we've got Gordon Mack. He's going to be playing some this.
He's so cool, isn't he?
Yeah. A few surprises on this show. It's an important place for me, because Shepherd's Bush is like North London meets South London. That's how I kind of see it, and East London in a sense. Shepherd's Bush is like that kind of hub, on the border of it. So there's some people saying, "Oh, I can't go all the way up there." They can go to Shepherd's Bush, and it's right there. So it's going to be an experience, and we also have February the 10th for everybody globally. There'll be the 40th anniversary box set, which I've got a prototype here, which is going to have 17 CDs, and it's all the imagination and Leee John catalog on here, from Body Talk, In the Heat of the Night, Night Dubbing, Scandalous, Closer, Trilogy, my jazz album, Feel My Soul, Utopia. We've also got some unreleased material and mixes that you've never heard before, and demos which were going to became other songs, how it started. And some live experiences which you've never heard, like Body Talk. I think there's like a 30-minute version of that, and In and Out of Love is 45 minutes of In and Out of Love. But it's very
Excellent.
special listening to this. And then we've got, for the DJ side of stuff, we have some really strong mixes, and that never got released before, which you'll be for the first time. And then when we did this, an album called Closer in America, there was some tracks on it that and versions of Closer Revisited, which are really amazing. People like Kenny G, you know, the saxophonist is on there.
Yes.
Mark Russo from the Yellow Jackets. Oh my goodness, and Nick Martinelli, who produced Loose Ends, and Stephanie Mills and Diana Ross and stuff. He's on there. There's a lot of stuff on this album, you know, and the thing about us especially was that even when we didn't, our success kind of waned over here. We were having a lot of success elsewhere. So like in
Europe, isn't it?
Europe, Canada. Call on Me, a track from the Fascination of the Physical album, was a #1 Billboard Hot 100 track in America, and that was in the 90s. And then I had myself a solo hit, and I think it was #2, The Mighty Power of Love. That was my first Leee John, you know, track to be that so successful. And then of late, I had a hit with Mary Wilson the Supremes called...
Oh yes, Mary. She was lovely, 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 lovely lady. Down to earth.
Very. I mean, she would see me every time she came to London. You know, we'd always go to our Italian restaurant, and you know, she'd say, "Where's Leee John?" You know, or she'd bring my mum. She'd bring my mum up and say, "Where am I?" And the last time I was in St. Lucia actually filming, that was 2019. And sadly, she passed away last year, I believe. And I'd spoken to her a few weeks before, but she was a great education of how to sustain within the industry. And she said to me when I used to have, I don't know if you remember, in the late 80s, I had a chat show called Lee's Place.
Okay.
On the Night Network channel. So everybody's been going on YouTube, and they're bringing it up. Recently, they saw me interviewing, oh my God, Dennis Brown. And then there was an interview with Aswad, who was singing, I think, One Love, I think it was. And great, it's just some magic moments. So I'm trying to see if I can compile and get all of that back for next year, so we can put it out maybe on ITVX or something, because there's some wonderful moments on my TV chat show that I had that you never forget again, because a lot of these people aren't even there. There's some musical moments and some interesting interviews. Me singing with Will Downing, Wishing on a Star. Misha Paris did one of her first interviews I did with her. No one knew who she was at the time. I got her on my show. I met her at the Whitney Houston reception, and she just held onto my arm and she said, "You know everybody here. Do you tell me?" I do know. And she said, "You don't know who I am?" I said, "Yes, I do," because I already had her album So Good, and it was so good, that album. It was really, really good. And she was surprised that I knew her music. So that's going way back. And LCGC, I had them on. So a lot of people, I always felt, if I go through the door, if I can open the door for others at the same time, you know, hey.
Because the door, they call it the circle of life, isn't it? You know, when you do something, then it comes back to you. So many people want to hold on, but it's not yours to hold on to, because it's being gifted to you. And when you understand that process, and if something works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it doesn't mean that you know, it's not yours. But you know,
Some people want to keep everything for themselves and don't understand that, you know, our journey is really, we're handing the baton on. You know, I can't be the same as somebody else. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm trying to make myself as good as I can individually. I can't do the same as that person. And I never wanted to. I just try and work on my tool, make sure my tool is right, and then we blend. And you know, that's what I like. Is when I'm doing jazz, for example, I'm working with different musicians, and I'm finding I can sing in all different ways when you're working with jazz musicians, and there's no prejudice against from the different backgrounds that I've come from, because I'm giving a different experience, a different approach, you know. And when I go to some territories, like we were in South Africa, we had saxophonist, what's his name, Sifo Mabusi, and he came on stage with us, and he's very famous because he was like a freedom fighter, an underground freedom fighter during the apartheid period.
Apartheid.
Yeah, but they didn't know that he was, because he'd be hiding a lot of the freedom fighters in his studio, and made them look out like they were musicians. So as soon as the police came, they'd all have their instruments, but they couldn't play, and they'd just be like pretending, yeah, you know, after they were on the run. So
In the group.
yeah, oh, he told me so many stories, and Zinzi told me about when she spoke about him. So it's been interesting, as I say, an interesting journey. But as I was saying, when I go to different countries, I tend to try and work with other people and just get an essence of what they do, you know, and try and bring them on stage with us, you know.
And that adds to your eclectic, that's one of my favorite words, eclectic personality and character and outlook on life. And because you are open to it, then it will come to you. And then, you know, they said variety is a spice of life, isn't it?
It surely is. The more spice you have, the better it, the harder
that's right.
the
Especially
dish
from
is.
St. Lucia, you get hot sauce on the...
Exactly, totally.
Oh wow, Lee,
So
it's always, you know, it's always a pleasure talking to you, because I know that we can talk for hours. I mean, even, you know, even for this conversation, I could stretch it. But I really want to focus on the celebration also of your...
exactly. And we're getting to the new year, so basically it's not 2023, it's 2020 Leee. That's what it's all about.
I'm gonna do a high five.
Yeah,
Come on,
2020 Leee, 2020 Leee, baby. That's what it's about. 2020 Leee. Don't forget. And it's not an illusion. It's definitely 2020.
It's not an illusion, and it's not a flashback either.
It's
man.
not a flashback. It's not.
No, it was just in the heat of the...
It's just the heat of the night, and I'm using a lot of my body talk, you know. But it's really cool, because I found, especially during the lockdown period, especially I was working a lot because I was doing recording plus working with the gorillas. We were under these umbrella bubble things where we were doing stuff together, and it was a wonderful experience working with them. And we did what was it, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we did a whole, like a TV show, and we broadcast it all around the world, different days, different times, and then they showed it in the cinema, I think last year. And then we did the O2, which was 20,000 capacity each night for 2 nights, and then we did the Cornwall Festival, which was like 50,000. So it brought me to a completely new arena. And since then, like my Instagram and my Twitter and Facebook, especially Instagram, I would say, and now we're kind of TikToking on a few little bits, but on Instagram in particular, I find completely new audiences.
Yes.
Probably know these kids know me through their parents, which is great, you know. So they're going, I love that track, or I love this one. So it's a whole new, you know, generation who are Spotifying me.
Yeah. And there was a question I was going to ask you. So, you know, I mean, as we go into 2023, the 2020 Leee, which is going to be an incredible experience for us all. How do you maintain, because I know that you're very much into your health and well-being as well. And so, you know, sort of winding this segment down, how do you maintain yourself? Because you do have an essence of balance about you, and you are incredibly busy. Because sometimes, I mean, I know I'm mad, I'm crazy busy, and then I try to get hold of you, and it's almost like this and this, and I get headache. Now I know how people feel about me. So how do you maintain balance in your life, Leee?
Well, in the mornings, I'm very strict with what I do. I don't care whatever I'm doing. Even if I've gone out the night before or I've had a gig, I will get up very early, and you know, I have an exercise routine that I do, and I swim. So, and that's and I do qigong, which is a stretching and breathing exercise, and that helps the balance and the brain and the body. And so, therefore, I do that every day, and that really sustains me. And then I can but the energy just comes, and I can go bam onto it. And in doing that, for example, I had to send an email to my management, and I had to go through a list of different things and stuff like that. And I can do it with ease, with flexibility, as opposed to thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen here and stuff like that. So it's really every day trying to make sure that you have that balance And
Mm.
in the evening times as well, you know, I always have a cutoff period, and I'm doing it, especially with my mobile now. I try when it gets about 9, 8:39, no more mobile, just
Yeah,
stop. I'm trying
absolutely.
very, very, very hard to do that, and because even sometimes the vibrations of the mobile is like, oh, it's hurting my hands, and I'm doing, you know, because you're so busy going, oh, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh, it's like,
Yes.
so I'm now thinking there's got to be times in the day even that I switch off or I put it on mute. So therefore I can really focus on other things and stuff like that. Otherwise, I find that you're missing life. You're actually missing, you know, the light, what's out there.
Mm.
You know, you're missing that. So it's important to have that balance. And, you know, even like Christmas was great because the fact was all the family was there. We were all there together. And I was cooking for everybody and
Oh, wow.
making sure everybody was watered and fed, I should, as they say. You know, they were, everybody was, they couldn't eat enough. You know, it was like plastic containers going here and there for 2 days. I tell you, it was like nonstop. So I was on my feet cooking and cooking and cooking and cooking and cooking and stuff. You know, so I got to a point where, okay, that's it now. You know, and I've got one relative who's always breaking champagne glasses all the time. I said, right, that's it. You know. But we have a good time and it's healthy. And I think laughter is also important part
Absolutely.
of the
Yes.
balance. You have to have a laugh. You know, taking the piss and having a good laugh is also good. It's, you know, it's not taking yourself too seriously. I find when it's time to me for me to get on stage and be Leee John, and then bam, then I have to, you know, do that. And I do a lot of pre-preparation, and
Mm.
I think that's what helps me a great deal. You know, like in my mind, I know I've got to prepare for the shows that we've got coming up for January. So,
Mm.
you know, and my assistant's saying, oh, what are you going to be taking? I said, okay, you know what? As soon as January the 1st comes, I will get into that area. But now let me just
Want to
enjoy
be?
it a little bit, you
Yes.
know. But it's different because, especially because I'm in the UK, I find like today and yesterday and maybe tomorrow, all of a sudden I'm getting international things coming in. You know,
Mm.
say, Ali, can you do this? Can you do that? But it's just about keeping yourself as healthy as you can and drinking a lot of water, which a
Yeah.
lot of people don't do. A lot,
Yeah.
especially in this period of time, you need to drink a lot of water.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I'll remember that. Well, Leee, it's been an absolute privilege and pleasure talking to you. I just love the sort of, it feels very zen, doesn't it? He's
Oh my, you know, it's wonderful because I think you say the Zen experience, but I think one of the first experiences I had like that was when I went to South Africa and I was performing in Joburg, and I
mm,
was reading the Celestine prophecy about energy, and like I was talking before about these rocks and stuff, and I just felt the energy of the audience. And because I was trying to question, what is it about me? What is it that, you know, you try and question, oh, am I doing a good performance? Is it there? And then I closed my eyes for one moment and I felt the energy of the universe through the love of the audience. And that sustained in me until now. That's
wow.
something that, you know, has really sustained in me and spiritually guided me to make sure that every audience is a different audience. And I
Hmm.
try and give each one a little bit different something. I try and push myself. You know, you sing the same songs, but I try and make a little variation. So there's something a little bit different for the band, for me. So it's interesting. And so therefore, if you're coming to see the show, it's not exactly the same thing all the time. Because I've gone to some people's shows and seen them over and over again. And you can see they're tired, you know, they're very tired, you know, it's like, but I want to make it the best experience. And so that's when May the 20th, when you come to see us at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, it will be not just my experience, but be your experience, celebrating the 1980s, the 90s, all those wonderful times, enjoying yourself, feeling good, positive, and letting go and letting every moment count.
Excellent. Excellent. That's a nice sort of finale. It's like bam, bam, bam. You want the drum roll, the cymbals. Oh, but Leee, like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure. Wishing you
Thank
all the
you.
best. And
And you
yes,
too.
2020 Leee, yeah, it's going
2020
to be
Leee. And you
a
have a
fantastic.
great 2020 Leee as well. And we'll definitely be back again together soon. So I'm looking
Will
forward to
be,
that.
will be.
And enjoy and have a large, long glass of champagne on me for 2023.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll send you my address later to send
I
bottles.
will. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.
Forget your sorrow, let it all fade away. Forget tomorrow, let's start living for today. Let me take you through a night of ecstasy. I like to
Frames worn by Esther Austin on the show today are sponsored by Run It First. Book your exclusive experience today with Tony Jazz, bespoke lifestyle manager to the rich and famous, professional butler and fine dining restaurant reviewer. The Butlers of Mayfair Bespoke Events. Your wish is our command.